It's October 19, 2020. I'm Todd Dunn, and today I'm aboard my 1972 Allied Princess 36 Ketch Sequester. And tomorrow is haul out day, so I'm doing the last few things today that need to be done before we haul the boat. For example, I'll be removing the Dodger here. It's a little damp with condensation. It's only a little after 10 in the morning, and as soon as the dry air and breeze today dry it out, I'll take the Dodger off. But the main thing I'm going to do today is to winterize the water system and the head. And I thought I would go through that procedure with you today. Winterizing the water system is the more complex of the two winterization tasks today. The head is very, very simple, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes. But winterizing the water system is a little bit more involved because what I have to do is drain the water tank, which is underneath the quarter berth over here. Unfortunately, I don't have to open the quarter berth to get to it because right now the sails are sitting on there. But I have to drain the water tank. I have to drain the water heater, which is unfortunately in the starboard cockpit locker. And that means I have to go into the cockpit locker, which is never very much fun because it's pretty cramped in there. And once we've got everything drained, I'm going to put in a connection to bypass the water heater so that no non-toxic antifreeze will go into the water heater because it's really difficult to get it out in the spring. So we'll bypass the water heater, and then we will run non-toxic antifreeze through all of the taps. There are two ways I can drain the water tank. One way is to open up the access to the hose that comes out of the water tank and just disconnect it and let it run down into the bilge. And that's what I usually do. And the other way is to turn the water pressure system on and open the taps and just run the water out the taps and it'll go overboard. Now what I do is to drain the water into the bilge. That has a couple benefits. The bilge water can be kind of nasty sometimes because my bilge pump does not remove all of it. There's always about a ½ inch or so of water in the bilge, and over the summer that can get kind of unpleasant. So what we're going to do is I'm going to throw a container of Baraxo into the bilge, and then we'll drain the water tank into the bilge, which is nice, clean, fresh water, and that will tend to sort of wash the bilge out a little bit, and we'll let the bilge pump that over the side. So, first step is open up the access to where the hose comes out of my water tank. And that is underneath my engine cover. So, I'm going to open up the engine cover. Okay, down here next to the engine is the access to the water hose. And it's a pretty nasty looking hose right here, and I'll drain it just by opening that valve. And we'll let that water run out of the tank. I don't think there's much in there because we haven't topped the tank up for quite a while, and we have spent a couple nights on board. Now what I'm going to do in between is take the hose that goes to the water pump off this valve so that I can stick that hose into a jug of non-toxic antifreeze. That just pulls off. These things are always harder to pull off than they are to get on. There we go. And we'll let that continue draining. One thing I do whenever I take a hose off something is I snug the hose clamp up again onto the hose so that it won't slide down into some place where I can't easily reach it. Okay. Now, just have to wait until that water drains out, which could take anywhere from a couple of minutes to considerably longer. While I'm waiting for the water to drain out of the tank, I'm going to winterize the head. This is a jug of non-toxic antifreeze, and this is the pure propylene glycol antifreeze. I do not use the alcohol based antifreeze for this because I found that the alcohol dries out some of the gaskets in the head and makes it leak for a week or two after the boat is put back in the water. Now my head is plumbed so that I can fresh water flush. And basically what I do, because I don't want a direct connection between my freshwater system and the head, is I have the drain of the sink here plumbed to the input for the head. There's a valve so I can pump, just let the water drain overboard, but right now that's closed. So what I'm going to do is dump some non-toxic antifreeze into the sink. And we usually go a little over a half gallon. And next I'll go into the head and we'll just pump that through the head into the holding tank. And that's all there is to winterizing the head. Okay, here's the head. Unfortunately, I can't really get the camera in here. It's pretty small. So I'm switching this to wet flush, which will pump water out of the sink and into the head, and that will get non-toxic antifreeze through the inlet side of the pump. And as I pump this, it's coming out of the sink, going into the head, and then up to the holding tank. And we'll switch it over. Once that's all pumped out, and just dry pump it into the holding tank. And that's it. The head is winterized at the end of the 2020 season. So that's really simple because of the way I have the system plumbed. Now both the inlet and outlet sides of the head have been fully winterized by pumping non-toxic antifreeze through them. Okay, now I get to go into the cockpit locker to bypass the water heater and also drain it out. Let's take a look. I'm using my phone for this because it does a little better in low light. There's the water heater. So I got to climb in there and disconnect that and drain it out and then put in a bypass fitting so that I can run the water system without any new water going into the water heater. So time to climb in there. Now I'm down in here, so what I'm going to do is disconnect the top and bottom connections to the water heater. The bottom down here is where water goes in and then water comes out up here. So what I will do once I disconnect those is I will tie them together so that water will bypass the water heater. So I'm going to do that. I need both hands, unfortunately, so I won't be able to film. Okay, the water heater is disconnected and bypassed, and right down there you can see the water running out. So at this point, when I put the pickup for the pump into a jug of non-toxic antifreeze, it will come through this hose, go that way into the hot water system, and that way into the cold water system. So at this, I'm ready to climb out of here. Alright, now I'm ready to do the actual winterization. That hose there is the pickup for the water system. And what I'm going to do is stick that into a jug of non-toxic antifreeze, and then we will simply use the water pump to pump water through all of the lines and the faucets. So, time to do that. Don't have a lot of antifreeze in the first jug, so I think I'll do the galley sink first. Just turn the water pressure on and start pumping that out. And we'll just open a line and let it run until we get pink antifreeze out. I may have to change jugs before long. Here we go. And that looks like it's pretty good. So we'll switch over to cold. We'll run the blast of the water out of the line. Yep. I'm going to have to switch to another jug. Okay, I'm in the other jug. It'll just take a few seconds to start drawing antifreeze up. And there we go. The galley is done. Now I'm going to walk up forward and do the same thing with the head sink. Okay, here's the head sink. This one usually takes a little more antifreeze simply because the hoses are longer. And we're just pumping the blast of the water out, and you can see it's turning pink. Let that run for a few seconds. And we'll switch over to hot. And I think I may have run out of antifreeze in that jug. Okay, I've switched jugs. It's blowing air out of the line. And pretty soon we should get nice pink antifreeze. There it is. So at this point, the system is done. I've run about 1.5 gallons of antifreeze through the hot tap, the cold tap, and all the lines. So right now I'm just going to let it pump until basically there's nothing left coming out, and we will be done. So now I have just one system left to do, and that's my raw water washdown pump. It draws seawater in via the head drain seacock. So what I have to do is close that seacock with the yellow handle down there, and then disconnect the hose to the raw water pump, stick it in a jug of antifreeze, and run it until I see pink antifreeze coming out. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to get it set up. Okay, there we are, ready to winterize the raw water washdown pump. So what I have to do is walk back aft and turn the pump on. And it will pump out onto the deck. So what I'll do is it'll come down the port side of the deck, and I'll just watch until I see pink antifreeze running down the port side of the deck. Okay, I'm going to turn the washdown pump on, and we'll just watch the deck out here until we see antifreeze running down the side deck. Here comes the water. Shouldn't take long, there's not a lot of hose there. There we go, we're done. So at this point, what I'm going to do is take the hose out of the jug of antifreeze and just run the system on air to get as much of this non-toxic antifreeze out of the system as I can. Well, that's that. I've winterized the head, the domestic water system, and the raw water washdown pump. And that's everything on this boat that needs to be winterized, except the engine. And I still have to motor the boat over to the man-set ramp for haul out, so I won't do the engine until the boat is out of the water. And we usually winterize the engine while the boat is on the trailer after it's hauled out, while they're pressure washing the bottom, and it only takes a couple minutes. So that's that. I used 2.5 gallons of non-toxic antifreeze to winterize all the systems here. So the boat is, except for the engine, pretty much ready to put away. And tomorrow at 2 p.m. the hauler is supposed to meet me at the man-set town dock here in Southwest Harbor, and we will load the boat on the trailer, pull it out of the water, unstep the spars, and take the boat over to the boatyard to where the bottom will be pressure washed, and then the boat will be put into storage for the winter. And once the boat is in the shed, I will go on board and I will make sure all of my seacocks are open so that they don't have any water trapped in them. And that'll be that. And if I don't want to, at that point, I don't have to go on the boat again until next spring when it's time to start working on it to get it ready to go back in the water. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed seeing these simple tasks that have to be done every year here in Maine. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you'll find out when my next exciting video will be posted.